Five Nights at Freddy's is now officially 10 years old. And I'm not just saying that to make you feel old. This time. Like, this is official now. And with the 10-year anniversary of FNAF has come a ton of new stuff for us FNAF fans to sink our teeth into. Ow! And chief among these birthday celebrations is the newest official FNAF game, Into the Pit. Now, the astute FNAF fans out there might just recognize that name, and this cover, and everything going on here, because yes, this game is based on the books. Yeah, that's right, the books. The dreaded curse of the FNAF series since the days before we even knew the name William Afton. The books have done a ton for the lore of this series, while also always kind of being a divisive subject among the fans. Mainly because the book lore and the game lore, for the most part, it didn't really mix. The books would just be throwing every single random storyline they could think of at the wall just to see what sticks, including some questionable ones. But the games, they just kind of did their own thing. Yeah, some things have carried over, like character names or specific animatronics, but things were still vague enough for there to still be some level of uncertainty about how the games and the books connect. But now, all that uncertainty has just been tossed out the window and left to die because this new game is just straight up adapted from the books. Into the Pit was actually the first ever story in the very long series of Fazbear Fright's anthology books. I've never read it because, unlike some other YouTubers, I've elected to maintain a healthy distance from this franchise, only diving in when it is absolutely necessary, lest I come down with something. But prior to playing the game, I was pretty sure it had something to do with like a time-traveling ball pit. Yes, actually. So let's see if I'm stupid or not by finally diving right into Five Nights at Freddy's Into the Pit. What? Do you sense that? That is a feeling of impending doom. And speaking of impending doom, have you guys ever heard of Doomlings? Doomlings is a cute little card game about, well, the end of the world. And it's also the sponsor of today's video. Thank you, Doomlings! Yes, today's descent into madness is brought to you by Doomlings, a delightful card game for the end of the world. It's all about a far-off, distant planet that's doomed to destruction and the life that's sprouted on it. You and up to 5 of your friends will develop your species of Doomling by pairing them with traits cards that allow them to grow stronger and adapt to the world around them. Each round that passes is called an age, and with every age card played, a new rule gets added to the game, changing up how you and your Doomlings have to adapt and strategize. But hidden in the age cards are catastrophes that can really mess up the game. And when 3 catastrophes strike, the game is over, the world ends, and whichever player has the most points is the winner. And all your Doomlings are dead. It's fun! You guys know I'm a big card game guy. Collecting weird, colorful cardboard rectangles with silly little monster guys on them is like my whole thing. So Doomlings is right up my alley. All these different little creatures and species, it's really hard not to love. And the great thing about the game itself is how accessible it is. The goal of the game is just to be fun and easy to set up and learn for everyone. See, Doomlings was created and successfully crowdfunded back in 2021 as a way of being a funny, quirky game to bring people together during a time when we were dealing with our own, well, catastrophe. And recently, they successfully crowdfunded a new expansion to the game, so there's even more Doomlings to come. So if all that sounds fun to you, then you can get your own copy of the Doomlings game at the very top link in this video's description or by scanning the QR code in the corner of the screen. And you can get a whole 20% off your order just by using the discount code FERRET20. FERRET20. Grab your copy today and have fun. Again, that is Doomlings, a delightful card game for the end of the world, available right now at the link in the description or by scanning this QR code, and you get a 20% discount on your order with code FERRET20. Major thanks to Doomlings for sponsoring today's video, and now, back to FNAF. The game begins, and we are Oswald, a 6th grade kid living in a rundown nowhere town. It's the last day of his summer vacation, and just like every day prior, his dad is dropping him off at the local pizza joint, Jeff's Pizza, while he goes off to work. Yeah, times are hard on Oswald's family right now. His mom works at the hospital, his dad lost a solid job at the local mill when it closed down, and now the most they can do is leave their kid at the local pizza place to be supervised while they go off to work. I mean, I don't know, when I was in 6th grade, my parents were perfectly fine with leaving me at home by myself for a bit, but sure, I don't know, do your thing, I guess. Jeff's is a pretty standard pizza joint, nothing great, nothing crazy, very greasy. But while waiting for his dad to pick him up that day, Oswald overheard a family nearby talking about some kind of secret off-limits ball pit in one of the building's back rooms. Bored and upset that his dad was late again, Oswald decides to go snooping around for that ball pit. But after he finds it and hops inside of it, when he pops back out, the dingy dingy back room he was in was now full of kids partying and saying things like radical and bodacious and Ghostbusters is an original film in theaters now because this is the 80s. Whoa! Ow. Aha! I was right! We're doing time traveling ball pit. That's stupid. I like it. Oswald meets some kids, plays some games, and marvels at how this dingy pizza place he knows in the present apparently used to be one of those super popular arcade pizza places decades prior, complete with one of those classic animatronic bands. Yes, Jeff's Pizza used to be Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, complete with Freddy, Bonnie, and Chica performing on the main stage. So that means we are a kid at a Freddy Fazbear's Pizza in the mid-1980s. Good. Good. This is a good thing, actually, probably. So having hopped back to the days of Rubik's Cubes and Cats the Musical, the game actually properly starts. And the very first thing that struck me about this game is that it's actually a 2D game. Like, a proper 2D game. A lot of early FNAF games are like technically 2D, but using 3D images, kind of like Donkey Kong Country was, like way back in the day. But this is a proper, like, modern retro pixel art 2D game. And rather than being a classic sit and survive style horror game, or a big sprawling stealth horror game like Security Breach, Into the Pit is more of an old school point and click adventure game with some stealth horror stuff just sprinkled on top. And oh my god, this is everything I ever wanted. See, I've actually been wishing for years that FNAF would do something like this. Make a more narrative driven game with a point and click setup, taking some level of inspiration from the Atari style minigames the series had been using to tell its story for years. A game that has a more thought through and complete story put in a gameplay format that is really great for conveying that story. So I don't know, man. If this game sticks the landing, this could become my new favorite FNAF game of all time. I'm way more excited now. But so far, nothing scary's happened. We're mostly just meeting some new friends and playing games in the arcade. That is, of course, until we decide to play hide and seek. I run from an arcade into a nearby back room where I find what else but the discarded animatronic suit of Golden Freddy, sitting in his classic pose. One knee up, one leg out, that dude's chilling. I'm not exactly sure why. I'm never really sure why people do this in this franchise, but Oswald sees this as a perfect hiding place, so he just piles right inside a Golden Freddy. But just then, the lights shut off. And switching to Oswald's perspective, we see the man himself, Springtrap, skulking around in their golden bunny suit, ready to, well, actually, if you don't know, here's the quick FNAF lore rundown. Way back in the mid-1980s, a crazy man named William Afton made animatronics for these local pizza places. But he would also wear one of the animatronic suits, particularly one of a golden bunny, and use it to lure kids into the back of the pizzeria and kill them. In his golden bunny suit, this killer is usually known as Springtrap. Now, this being an adaptation of the book specifically, I don't know if this is meant to be William Afton or Springtrap specifically. He seems to be referred to by fans as like Pit Bonnie or Spring Bonnie mainly, and in this story he seems to be more of like a ghostly presence than a real human man in a suit. But either way, I'm just gonna call him Springtrap because that feels more right. Fight me. So we manage to not get caught by Springtrap as he skulks around, but as soon as he leaves, all hell breaks loose in the pizzeria. We never see exactly what happened, though I think we can fill in the gaps. The only thing we see is that Springtrap is out and on the loose, the other animatronics are freaking out, and crowds of kids and parents are running for their lives. And if everyone else is doing it, then they probably got the right idea. So I beeline right back to the ball pit, Springtrap hot on my tail, hop in and pop back out in the present day where Oswald's dad and Jeff, of Jeff's Pizza fame, are waiting for me, until Springtrap just pops out and steals Oswald's dad. Luckily, we are able to fish him back out of the ball pit, but something's wrong. That's not Oswald's dad. What kind of invasion of the body snatchers junk is going on here? Well, we're a preteen kid trying to tell a pizza store owner that our dad is actually a ghostly animatronic bunny in disguise. We're not really gonna get much help here. We're probably just gonna sound insane, if I'm being honest. With nothing else to do, a spring dad over here tosses us in the car and drives us back home. And herein lies the gameplay loop. This is FNAF after all, so over the course of the next 5 nights, we gotta figure out what's going on, use the ball pit to travel back to the 80s, solve puzzles, and save Oswald's dad, all while avoiding Spring Dad and the other animatronics on the prowl. So let's break it down, starting with night 1. So first things first, I had to get out of the house. And this gave me some time to get used to the game's stealth mechanics. See, whenever there's a threat around, a volume meter appears at the bottom of the screen. Make too much noise, and oh lord, he coming! Which means it's time to hide. And just about every hiding spot in this game has a mini game attached attached to it. Swat the spiders, stay out of sight, shine a light in Springdad's face, etc., whatever. Pass the minigame and you're safe. Fail and... that's the one. I'm gonna be honest, after a while, I just set these minigames to autoplay in the options menu. They never really changed or got harder, so like, who cares? So after sneaking around my house, I managed to just straight up leave out the front door and walk my way to Jeff's Pizza. Super vigilant security they got going on there. Hop into the ball pit and I am back in the nightmare realm that is the 80s. The pizzeria is still all dark and abandoned from whatever killing spree Springtrap went on earlier. And even though we're here to find Oswald's dad, the first thing we hear is a crying kid who is... Oh my god! They've been stuffed inside an endoskeleton. I mean, FNAF games talk about this sort of thing all the time, but they don't really tend to show it. And I mean, nothing explicitly gory or grotesque is happening here, but like, this seems pretty dark, even for FNAF. Unfortunately, the mission to free this kid is kinda underwhelming. You need a screwdriver to free him from the endoskeleton, so you hop back to the present and do a quick chore for Jeff so he'll give you a key to a storage closet where you can nab a screwdriver. Hooray, what fun. Okay, kidding aside, solving puzzles across different timelines is exactly what I would have wanted from a game like this. Remember, I'm the guy who cites Life is Strange as his favorite game of all time. Time travel puzzle solving is my idea of fun, even if it mostly just manifests as, you know, take out the trash. Anyway, free the kid, Springtrap jump scares us, and it's every man for himself. Hop back through the ball pit, and... that's night 1. Night 2! So Oswald's not doing so hot. His dad's been kidnapped into another decade. There's a murderous animatronic ghost thing sleeping in the room next to him. His mom has no idea anything is happening. And what's worse, it's his first day of school. Yeah, in the midst of all of this, still having to go to school and live a normal life is messed up, man. But it's not all bad. At school, we meet 2 kids who are going to be very helpful to Oswald moving forward. Gabrielle and Jet. Jet is a bit of a troublemaker kid who we first see setting off a firecracker during recess. Oswald sees this and immediately clocks these firecrackers as something he could use to fight off the animatronics. But Jet says he'll only trade for something special that you can't get anywhere else. We have nothing, which, to be fair, you can't really get that anywhere. But for now, the trade's a no-go. Luckily, we make friends with this girl named Gabrielle, and she gives us an old notebook that used to be her grandpa's. Turns out, her grandpa used to work as a technician for Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, and this notebook is full of schematics and details on the different animatronics, including flaws in their programming that will be absolutely imperative to surviving the nights. Oswald thanks Gabrielle, and reluctantly heads back home, where the monster is. Ooh. Once night falls, it's time to get back to the ball pit. But Springdad is smart and made sure I can't just leave out the front door again. Dang it. I guess we got lucky. So, using the screwdriver from the night before, I open my bedroom window and race back to Jeff's. Now, the goal tonight is a bit more abstract, I guess. I have no idea where Oswald's dad is, but I can hear another kid screaming. So, I guess we gotta go see what's up with... That's a chicken! That's a chicken. I see what's going on here. Every one of these nights is gonna introduce a new animatronic we gotta work around, isn't it? I guess that makes sense. Anyway, we're spared being dismembered by Chica here thanks to the bag lunch I packed for school falling out of my jacket. And I guess we're just doing that security breach thing where Chica is easily distracted by literally any food then. Alright, though this time there's no comically huge trash compactor to crush her with. Lame. 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 So we hop back to the present to find some pizza to distract Chica with. But Jeff won't give us any unless we pay for it. Stupid guy doing his job. So the only thing to do is cause a distraction and steal some pizza. Well, I mean... does it count as stealing if it never technically leaves the pizzeria building? Anyway, there was a rat in the same room as Chica. I found a rat trap somewhere. Bada bing, bada boom. We trap the disease-covered rodent, torture it by sending it through the space-time continuum, and then unleash it into the restaurant in the present day, where it will likely meet its untimely demise, all for a slice of pizza. Cool, but with Chica finally distracted back in the 80s, we're finally able to rescue one of our friends from night 1, just in time for Springtrap to pop back up, sending us running back to the ball pit and ending the night. Night 3, wake up, go to school, have horrifying daydreams about Springtrap in the middle of class, find one of those novelty sticky hand toys, go home, find another way to leave at night since Springdad boarded up my window, get to the pizza place, and go. And since Springtrap jumped out of the arcade entrance last time, that seems like the place to check for Oswald's dad and any more trapped kids. And using that sticky hand I found, I'm able to snag a key from a nearby air vent that lets me enter the arcade. Yeah, that's some classic point-and-click puzzle design logic for you right there. Why was there a key inside of a ceiling air vent? Would a novelty sticky hand be strong enough to rip a metal grate off the wall? Who cares? Puzzle design. With the key to the arcade in hand, we hop through that locked door and... Dad, I was right! So we are gonna meet a new animatronic every night. And tonight looks like Bonnie. Regular Bonnie, not stole my dad Bonnie. And according to the notebook that I got earlier, Bonnie's programmed to respond to noise, particularly his guitar, which I found sitting behind the stage, but the strings are broken. Ugh, changing guitar strings is such a hassle. Fine. We hop back to the present day and talk to Jeff, who says that anything related to the old animatronics was probably disposed of at the old mill. So we head over there to grab those Ernie ball slinkies, get caught by a school bully who makes fun of us for digging through the trash at night, despite the fact that, you know, he's here too. And with one more hop through the ball pit, we restring Bonnie's guitar and draw him out of the arcade. Of course, now we're right out in the open, standing directly under a spotlight, and Bonnie is chasing us down, so we gotta hide. And the closest place to hide is... You know, I was wondering when I would be stuffing myself inside of an air vent in this game. It is a FNAF staple after all. Anyway, I'm sure we'll be safe in here for now. Arm! Well, that was fun. But with that, we actually do start to see the different ways these animatronics function throughout the game. I mean, yeah, we've been introduced to Springtrap, Chica, and Bonnie so far, but now we get to see exactly how we deal with them on a night-by-night basis. Where Springtrap will stalk around and try to kill you on sight, Chica primarily just starts blaring and dancing whenever she sees you, drawing Springtrap to your location. Meanwhile, Bonnie tends to hang out in your usual hiding spots to try and grab you. It's actually a pretty fun and balanced set of obstacles to deal with. Yeah, it can get overwhelming, for sure, but once you learn the rules of how each animatronic works, it's actually pretty reasonable. And it's with this knowledge crystallizing that I head into the arcade, save another kid, and get jump scared by yet another new animatronic, causing me to run back home and end the day. Night 4. So I think at night 4, it's important for us to zoom out a bit and remember exactly what Oswald's dealing with here. For 4 days straight, this dude has been living with a literal murderous monster and spending every night narrowly escaping death while trying to save his dad. And then first thing the next morning, dude's gotta go to school. So needless to say, he's not sleeping very well, and it's starting to affect him. So at school the next day, when that bully from the mill starts making fun of him, Oswald starts to hallucinate that he and everyone else are animatronics. Dude finally just snaps and shoves the bully over. This sends Oswald into a panic, and he just ditches school and runs straight to the ball pit. Hopping back into the 80s, the first thing we hear is another kid screaming. Don't they know I have things to do? After following the scream for a bit, we track it down to this room that's being guarded by Freddy Fazbear himself. And consulting the sketchbook, we find that Freddy is sensitive to bright, flashing lights. And then I remember... firecrackers. We gotta go meet back up with Jet in the present. But remember, we'll need something to trade with. So the only thing to do is waste a bunch of time playing arcade games to get tickets that I can exchange for a prize voucher to then get a random prize in the 80s. So, I do that. They really made you work for that one, didn't they? And after all that, I get a crappy little Tiger Electronics LCD handheld game thing. I head back to the present and meet Jet at the local library where I trade that hunk of junk for a firecracker. Then, back in the 80s, I lure Freddy out and set that thing off, leaving him all discombobulated, letting me sneak into a room that I've never had access to up to this point, the security office. Now this is some vintage FNAF stuff. And look, it's got the little marionettes all over it. Oh, that's cool. Oh, and I guess there's another kid trapped in here. I guess that's important too. But of course, right in the middle of saving her, Springtrap bursts in, grabs me by the collar, and gives me a good shaking. Which of course means it's back to the ball pit and time for night 5. At this point, Oswald's just over it. He's not gonna bother going to school or sneaking around. He's just heading straight to the pizza place and putting an end to this. And there's really only one last room in the 80s pizzeria that I haven't been to. It requires a key card to open it. I found the key card. Cool. Head back to the door, scan it, and boom, I find and save the last kid in this party room. And one trip through the nearby air vent later, and I finally find Oswald's dad. But of course, Springtrap is just around the corner. Before I can get him out of there, Springtrap bursts in and takes Oswald's dad away. And Oswald's just not having it anymore. We quickly give chase, following the two all the way to the ball pit where Springtrap finally attacks. But somehow the weakest right hook in the world, from a 6th grader no less, sends this 2-ton animatronic monster man tumbling to the ground, giving Oswald time to grab his dad and head back through the ball pit. They pop out of the other side and get a mere moment of safety before Springtrap jumps back out and drags Oswald back down through the pit. We then switch to a cutscene of Oswald tied to a chair. We see the silhouette of Springtrap rise up in front of him, we cut to black, and the credits roll. Okay, so I'm guessing that was a bad ending? Yeah, so if playing Security Breach taught me anything, it's that modern FNAF games not only have multiple endings, but that I always seem to get the bad ones on my first try. So real quick, let's go through the various endings that I was able to get in Into the Pit. Ending 1.
Let's leave!
Yeah, during night 1 while I was in the 80s pizzeria, I just walked up to the front door, left, and the game ended. I'd only been playing for like an hour. Ending 2. What am I? Simple enough, at the final moment of night 5 when Springtrap attacked me, I failed the QuickTime event, which then triggered a cutscene of Oswald standing on the Fazbear stage, talking about how he feels weird and how his voice sounds strange. He then walks through the dining hall with all the animatronics just standing there waving hello. He gets to the end of the hall and meets face to face with Springtrap. Oswald cautiously asks, who or what am I? Then his eyes glow bright blue, just like Spring Dad's, and the game ends. That means you're dead. Tell you what you are, you're dead. Ending 3. I already talked about this one, so I'm gonna skip this part. Ending 4. The kinda good one. My bones. Getting this ending actually isn't too tough. If you like to collect things throughout your games like me, you might come across this one naturally. Throughout the game, you just gotta pick up 5 random objects that belong to Oswald's dad that are scattered throughout the pizzeria. If you do, another photo will appear in the party room that you can pick up. It's a photo of what appears to be 2 Mr. Game & Watches standing next to each other. I don't think the game says this outright, but I've heard some fans say that this is meant to be a photo of William Afton and Henry Emily, the 2 guys who created the robots. But don't take my word on that. Either way, picking this photo up will lead to it subsequently falling out of your pocket once Springtrap attacks. And seeing the photo makes him sort of short circuit and go all giving Oswald and his dad more time to escape. But I think it also makes him more mad because when Springtrap does catch up to them, he just straight up chomps Oswald's arm. But all that extra commotion gets him tangled up in the ball pit net, letting Oswald and his dad finally get away in one piece. Hooray! But they do just kind of leave Springtrap there, unattended. So when Jeff goes into the back room that evening, Springtrap wakes up and bye-bye, Jeff. Goodbye. Ending 5. Basically the same one we just got, but Jeff doesn't die and it takes a hell of a lot more work. I mean, the name says it all. For the majority of this ending, it's basically the exact same. There's a few differences in the final cutscene and credits, but the big difference is that Jeff doesn't get killed, and you get a cute little final scene of Oswald and his family eating at the newly revamped Jeff's Pizza. That's kinda it. And this is the one ending in the game that I didn't get myself, because quite frankly, it seemed like a huge headache for not that much of a difference. It involves like spam interacting with stuff, unlocking and beating a bunch of different minigames, including a bunch of secret hidden minigames that you gotta figure out how to activate in the first place, and remember what I said about maintaining a healthy distance? So yeah, that was Five Nights at Freddy's Into the Pit. Is it my new favorite FNAF game? Kinda? I mean, let's be real. It is just a relatively small game meant to celebrate the 10-year anniversary of the franchise. You can't expect the world here. But honestly, maybe I'm pretty biased, but from the story that's told, the amazing pixel art, and the genuine horror on display, I think this is a very, very definitive Five Nights at Freddy's experience. I think just about everything that makes FNAF good is boiled down to its core here, and presented in a kind of game that is just my style. I can't help it. I will always prefer a game like this to classic FNAF. So, while it might not be setting the world on fire like Security Breach or Help Wanted did, this is my kind of FNAF game. And I think it would be a crime if the series didn't keep exploring what we've got in Into the Pit. Especially because there was no Foxy in this game. Hello? Pirate Cove is right there and you're just not gonna have Foxy at all? Ever? Unbelievable. See, this is exactly why we shouldn't be paying attention to the books!